Hello y'all, this is HOI4, and we are going to play the mod War of the Diadochi, which is about the conflict that engulfed the Middle East following the death of Alexander the Great. Due to HOI4 not really being designed as an ancient warfare style game, this mod does take place in the normal HOI4 start date of 1936. Expect to see a giant purple blob on the map. We're going to play as the country of Macedonia, which stretches all the way from Greece to Egypt to Afghanistan. King Alexander is not feeling well, and we must appoint a regent. Let's go with the governor of Persia, Seleucus Nictator. Some border changes on the map besides big old Macedonia is the fact Epirus exists and replaced Albania. Bithynia is a thing. There's an independent Georgia, Azerbaijan, and Armenia. Also, Saudi Arabia doesn't exist as a nation. The partition of Babylon. Alexander the Great is dead at the age of 32 from a mysterious disease, and his son is a year old. I will defend Alexander's legacy, or will I? We are now playing as Seleucus, and Macedonia is ruled by a child. I don't think that's the sign of a stable empire. Taking a look at Seleucus, our ruling ideology is non-aligned, and we have two national spirits, and they are Diadochi rivalry and disorganized armed forces. Our country leader is Seleucus Nictator. Seleucus historically was a general in Alexander's army. When his superior died, he established his own realm in the form of the Seleucid Empire. He spent much of his life fighting the other Diadochi. The Seleucid Empire itself would last for a few hundred years until it was basically torn apart by the Romans, Armenians, and Parthians. Looking at our starting military, we have 20 divisions in the army, a relatively large navy, and a sadly pretty tiny air force. Moving on to army commanders, we have 2 generals and 1 field marshal. The field marshal happens to be the same guy who leads our country. Starting the focus tree, let's do the path of unification, military solutions, and secure the Gulf. That last focus will give us war goals on Oman and Nej. Byzantium in the west declares their independence. This isn't really our problem, but it is nice to be informed about it, I suppose. The Macedonian Empire is now deader than dead. I say that because it has broken apart even more into domains controlled by Ptolemy, Antigonus, Lysimachus, and Cassandros. The age of the Diadochi has arrived. All of our rivals are delaying any kind of expansion and are instead reorganizing their army. Not to be outdone, when we aren't busy, we will do the same thing. By completing this focus, we will remove the national spirit, disorganized armed forces. We are invading Nej. We are really counting on weight of numbers to win this war because we have a national spirit that gives us a pretty bad debuff to division organization, army organization, regain speed, and planning speed. Bactria declares independence. That's in modern-day Afghanistan. By declaring independence, some of our divisions are going to defect to their side. We can't let this happen, and so we will crush this uprising. This means we are now going to be fighting 2 wars at once. Although we now have a conflict in the east to address, we are going to keep all of our attention at the moment on Nej, so we can just go ahead and remove that country as a threat. Nej is beaten, and we are going to absorb them into the empire. Now, let's go make Bactria regret their choice to rebel against us. Hoping to take advantage of our numbers, we are going to set up a fallback line in Persia to halt the Bactrian advance. In the focus tree, let's complete focus on new equipment, set up administration in Persia, and public works in Baghdad. After watching Bactria a little bit, it appears their army is somewhat smaller than our own, so with that in mind, we are going to start advancing into their territory. Dominions break with the crown, and that means we will soon share a border with a huge, massive, independent India. We are doing our best to flank and encircle the Bactrian military. It shouldn't be too long before we take their capital. The would-be rebels are crushed. We are now going to turn around and go back into the Arabian Peninsula to invade Oman. Oman has 1 unit and we have 16, so I'm going to just tell you now, this will be an easy war, or it should be anyway. Trouble in the Indian subcontinent. Pakistan has risen up and is fighting with the country of India. In the focus tree, let's do Alexander's last wish for some war goals, and then do focus on new doctrines, general staff, and legacy of the immortals. Legacy of the immortals will give us a very nice national spirit that will buff our infantry division attack and defense. Alexander's last wish is complete, and we are getting ready to attack Ptolemy, who controls Egypt. Ptolemy's troops weren't really ready for us, so we are sweeping into his territory. Our strategy is going to be to take Palestine and Sinai, and then use that to move deeper into his country's heartland. A few enemy divisions are holding out near Jerusalem, but we have surrounded them. There is also an encircled division in Sinai, and we are trying to cross the Suez Canal, which we should be able to do provided we have enough time to do that. We have defeated our first Diadochi. We must now get ready to face the next one, the Untitled Empire, who controls a large part of Anatolia and Cyprus. We're going to fight our conflict with Antigonus by performing the daring strategy of abandoning the territory we just conquered as a distraction while advancing everywhere else. Our foe has a few gaps in their lines, and we are going to make sure to try to exploit those in order to create some encirclements where they are possible. We are losing ground in Syria, but we can afford to do that, at least for a little while. By comparison, on the other hand, we are pushing into Anatolia. More of the Untitled Empire's territory falls to our control, which is good. We also have sent a detachment of soldiers to the south to stop the chaos there. We secured the enemy capital, and I believe this has given us an extra military factory and a new dockyard. More focuses. Let's do end Byzantine independence, Gulf shipyards, Bactrian arms industry, develop Mesopotamian economy, and University of Baghdad. The Seleucid Empire devours the Untitled Empire. The last big obstacles left in our way now are Lysimachus in Macedonia and Cassandros in Greece. We do have a war goal on Lysimachus. Unfortunately, though, he is being guaranteed by France. However, he may try to attack Byzantium, so we will see what happens then. Cassandros invites us to the Pact of Babylon faction. This may give us more leverage against Lysimachus in the event of a conflict between us, so with that in mind, we will say yes to Cassandros' proposal. Lysimachus' realm, aka the Diadochi Kingdom of Thracia, has done it. They are invading the free city of Byzantium. We officially became a part of the Pact of Babylon. Besides us, the other members are Cassandros, Epirus, Armenia, Sedan, and Bithynia. Lysimachus isn't satisfied with just fighting Byzantium, and it looks like he may try to take on Bithynia. By doing this, he will of course force our faction to get involved in his shenanigans. He did the thing, and Byzantium joined the Pact of Babylon. While this is going on, we are pushing into Macedonia with our allies. While we're doing what we're doing, we somehow got into a war with France, which I mean is bad, but at least there is an entire Mediterranean Ocean separating them from us. The German Reich invades Czechoslovakia, who is guaranteed by France. At least what the Germans are doing will keep the French occupied for the time being. Italy joins the Axis, and France joined the relatively small Commonwealth of Nations. Remember, the Dominions broke away from the crown. The French are going to have to fight the Italians, though. Now, with that said, as long as our most powerful enemy is busy elsewhere, that is good for us while we take on Lysimachus. The fight with Thracia is finished. We had the most war score by far, so we will take anything we can get out of this peace conference. Things have taken a turn. We got a lot of land, however, Thracia and Serbia were made into, I think, puppets of Cassandros. Also, to make matters worse, Romania, who may have been guaranteeing Czechoslovakia, joined the faction France is in. And basically that means we are fighting a war with them. The satrapy of Greece, that's Cassandros or was Cassandros, doesn't like us anymore, so they kicked us from their faction. The Seleucid Empire needs to move with the times, and those times are us joining the Axis, and most likely helping out Germany and Italy wherever we can. While we fight in Macedonia, we gotta start a war to win a war. What I'm trying to say is, we are going to invade Greece and the other members of the Pact of Babylon, if necessary. Romania is making my life pain, but hey, Germany and Italy are sending some reinforcements, while we are slamming down hard into Greece. While we are capturing Greek cities and whatnot, our enemy decided to get a good look at the coastline of the Seleucid Empire. The Pact of Babylon is beaten. We mainly need to get the state of Attica out of the peace deal because we need it to try and restore Macedonia to its full power. As for any other land, we'll see what happens. Seleucus is the last Diadochi standing. This means the moment has arrived to unite the empire. With Macedonia reborn, we now have tons of manpower. We're going to use it to build an army that will force back Romania and the rest of the Commonwealth of Nations. Great Britain joins the Axis. With their divisions that will soon be marching to the front lines, it doesn't look pretty for France. Romania goes down. With that country out of the way, our army is going to be moving into Czechoslovakia, who the Germans haven't managed to defeat just yet. The German Reich invades Yugoslavia, who joins the French Alliance, which is a new faction. We weren't expecting this war, but we will do what we can, even if Hitler has a habit of biting off more than he can chew. Alright, with the signing of the Treaty of Paris, France and company have lost. Now we just have to deal with Czechoslovakia and the Commonwealth of Nations. Canada leads the faction we are fighting against, so as you can imagine, we have to send troops to Canadian territory. While we do stuff in North America, the Germans decided now is the right time to destroy Belgium in a one-sided war. The Treaty of Luxembourg. I don't really care for anything here. I guess I would take part of Romania to make the borders pretty, I guess. The peace conference is over, and what Macedonia got is all of Romania, some part of Australia, something in Africa, and a piece of Canada. We have come far from our start as a piece of the broken empire of Alexander the Great. We restored the Macedonian Empire and added more to it, and as a result, we control territory on 5 different continents around the world. The video is going to stop here. If you enjoyed the mod, check it out in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, support the channel on Patreon or by becoming a channel member. Tell me what country I should play next in the comments below. Have an awesome day. I'll see y'all later. Bye.